Assalamu alaikum. Hello, my students. One of the points that we also need to cover is how to create not just a server that can receive a connection request from a client, but a server that can support threads, meaning it can receive connections from so many clients, from multiple clients at the same time. So we will need to use the threads in this example. So particularly in this example, I'm not going to change anything in the client. I'm going to leave it as it is. And notice that I am using my personal computer, so it is okay for me to use the port number 80. If you remember in the class, we have used the port number 4999. For me, this is my personal laptop, and I know that this port is available. So I'll go to the server. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this class. This is not necessary, but I'm just trying to differentiate between them. Instead of having just the server named as server, I'm going to call it a threaded server, just to differentiate between them. So we have agreed that you shouldn't be just renaming it from here. This is wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Instead, you need to highlight, and you go to right click, you go to refactor and rename. Why? Because refactoring is going to change the word server wherever it has been mentioned, plus renaming the class name itself. So refactor and rename, and I will call it threaded server, just to differentiate between them. And refactor, and you can see that even the file name has changed. Okay, I'll leave the package name as it is. I'm not going to change anything in there. So the first thing that we are going to need is to implement the threads. And we are going this time to not to extend thread, but we are going to implement an interface. And I hope that you remember what is an interface. Interface is one class that is available for use, and all of its methods are abstract. So let me implement an interface called runnable. And see, immediately after I called runnable, I can see that I have an underline under my class name. And if you put the mouse over it, it is just reminding you that you either convert your class to be an abstract class, or you have the other option to implement every method inside runnable. I'm going to implement the methods available inside runnable. Right click, clicking on the hint, and implement all abstract methods. Actually, it turned out to be only one method called run. And you know, only if you wanted to explore what is inside this runnable, press Control in the keyboard, hover over the class name and click. And it's going to open this class for you. And if you try to explore it, you can see actually that it only contains one abstract method, which is called run. Okay, just if you wanted to explore. Let's come back to our class. So now I'm going to start defining some of the things. And first of all, you remember we have used the socket, and we have declared it previously in the server. Now this time I am going to clear it as static, and I'm going to use socket. And let me call it this time client socket instead of S. Okay, we used to call it S, but I'm going to call it client socket. Okay, it is asking me to import, so click here and add the import, and yes, we have added the import. Okay, let me continue. Let me just leave some space. I will come to the run later on at the end. Now let me just type in a method that we are going to need. This method is going to be the constructor of this class. Class name is threaded server, therefore the constructor must be the same. It must be exactly the same name. So let me call it public, and here's the name, the same name as my class. And I'm going to receive one thing here. I'm going to receive the socket, client socket. I will specify this later on. So I will be invoking this method, and I will send the details about the client socket. So we are going to define it in here. So threaded echo server. Let me just put it like this. Yeah, threaded server, which is the same name as my class. So let me just call it, I think this is a better name. So refactor, and I'll go to name. I just thought of calling it threaded echo server. Okay, just a change. This is not necessary, but I like to call it that. So I'm going to call it call the constructor for the threaded echo server, and it should be a dot, and I can call the client socket, and I will make it equal to the client socket that we are sending using the argument client socket. There we go. I am done with the constructor. So let me just add a note here that this is a constructor. Okay. So yeah, okay, let's continue. Now my static void main, public static void main, and I press tab. There it goes. I have written it, and I'm going to create the server socket. But I'm going to create try and catch. Okay, I will write on the details in a few minutes. Now I'm going to create my server socket object in here inside the try. So I'm going to write it like this, server socket, and of course we will need to import it now. Server socket equals server socket, and I will be using the same port, which is 80. We'll see if it didn't work. We are going to change it in a few seconds. And in the exception here, I'm going to put an IO exception. I hope that you understood the concept of throwing an IO exception. Let me call it EX. Okay. Now I will need to import the socket. No, wait a minute. I think I am making a mistake here. Server socket equals server socket 80. I think this is correct. Yeah, I guess I forgot the word new here. Yes, okay. And now I'm going to add the import, and there we go. So now inside my try, we will start our try by creating the object server socket, and then we are going to try the code. Now I want my server to continuously be ready for any incoming connections. So that's why we are not going to use any set timeout. We are not going to use a timeout because I don't want my server to stop. I want my server to continue to work the whole time. So I'm going to create a while and while true. And you know that while true means forever, never stop. This is what it means. Never stop listening and accepting connections, okay, until we close the program. So if I don't close the program, don't stop. This is what we meant. Okay, so while true, and here I'm going to type in the client So I'll take the client socket equals to the server. If you remember, we start accepting, but now I am starting to accept inside the try and catch and inside the loop itself. So here we go. By this now we are starting to listening, but now see the change that I am going to make. I'm going to create a threaded echo server, which is the name of our constructor. Okay, let me in short TES threaded echo server, and it should be equal to new threaded echo server. And the only thing that I will need is the client server that I have defined in here. So that's all I need. So I'm going to send the, wait a minute, what am I doing? Client socket. Okay, the one that I have defined. Okay, and now I'm going to a new thread. You remember we have a thread because we are implementing the runnable. So I can define a new thread, and my thread is going to be the threaded echo server, and I'm going to let it start. So here it comes, and now my thread is going to start at this point. Okay, probably I can maybe add the if statement. You remember we used to do a system out print line that prints that the client is connected. Now I'm going to do it inside an if statement. So if the client socket dot is connected, if it is connected, okay, in that case tell me that it is connected, only if it is connected. So in this case we'll print client connected. Okay, there it comes. So I think I need to import the IO exception. Okay, here it comes, and in here you can print anything, like for example, okay, no connection, for example, or you can leave it empty, that's fine. Okay, and at the end, when we are done with this, after the handling of the exception, after we handle the exception, I'm going just to print that our threaded echo server is terminating. Okay, we have finished the connection on here. So that's probably everything that I will need to do in this part. Again, let me just revise what we did. We used to define the server socket into a separate line. Now I am defining it inside the try. Okay, and after that we have defined a while, and we know, as we said, while true, it means continue to work forever. It is never going to stop unless we close the program. And I have defined a client socket, and the client socket is going to go to the server socket. The server socket is going to start listening and accepting, and I have called my threaded echo server. I'm just trying to make sure I don't have a spelling mistake in here. I think I am having a spelling mistake. It should be here. Let me just ensure everything is okay. Paste. I thought I am having a spelling mistake. Okay. So after that, the only thing that is left is to override the method run, and I'm going to override it like this. So the run is one of the methods that belongs to the interface runnable, and because it's abstract, I will need to override it here. Okay, so let's put in some code here. When the connection happens, I will need to see some string علشان أتأكد إنه فعلا حصل الconnection. So and I need to know from which thread that connection is coming علشان أتأكد إنه فعلا threads جالسة تشتغل. يعني not only one client is working, I need to make sure that different clients, different threads are sending out requests for connection. So maybe I'm going to do something like this. I would say connected to client using, for example, I would put this parenthesis, and I'm going to concatenate the thread ID, the thread number. So I would say thread dot current thread. Okay, and plus I'm going to close the parenthesis that I have opened there. Okay, I think this is enough. Okay, so yeah, I think this is enough when the connection happens. Now I'm going to make some request. I'm going to send the request. I'll be using the buffered reader and the print writer. So I'm going to type in try. This is similar to what we did in class, but there are just little differences here. So I'm going to catch an exception, and again in the try I'm going here to define the buffered exception, the buffered class. So buffered reader, I will call it BR equals to new buffered reader, and I need to specify what is the source of my input. من وين احنا بنقرأ. So let me just import it. Okay, from where are we getting our source? So I'm going to type in a new input stream. Okay, and the source of that stream is going to be my client socket. You remember the one that we have defined before, and I'm going to get the input stream from there. This is the one that I would need. Okay, again I will need to import this, the input stream. Okay, that's fantastic. You could be breaking this into multiple lines if you wish. I think probably I am making some mistake in here. I'm not sure what is my mistake. Let me organize it in a better way, like this, so that I can read it better. So, new client socket. Yeah, I guess my mistake is here. My mistake is input stream reader. Yes, I forgot to do that. And I'm going to import it again. Yes, so that was my mistake. And now the client socket, we are going to get the input from it. And I think we are done with this. Okay, close and the parenthesis. Yes, let me just organize it in a better way. So I'm going to break in the line after this. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is okay with my code. And yeah, and now I'm going to use a print writer. I will call it an output, for example, equals new print writer. Again, I'm just repeating what we did in class. Okay, a new print writer, and I'm going to use a client socket dot get output stream. Where is output stream? Here it is. Get output stream, and this is going to be my source, and yeah, this is going to be true. And let me open a parenthesis in here, and I will define a string for the input when we receive it. Input line. Okay, I need to import the input writer. Okay, I think this is fine now. And now I will need to loop through the input string line. I'm going to loop through the input line. So I would say while, you put it in here. Yeah. So while, and I'll be using the input line equals, I'm going to get it from the buffer reader, and I'm going to read again, let me get it from the list. Read line, this is the method I'm going to be using. Read line, and yeah, so read line, and it shouldn't be null, it shouldn't be empty. So if it is not empty, then in that case we are going to start reading it. So I'm going to, in that case, if it is not empty, I'm going to print it out. I would say client request, and again I'm going to specify the thread ID so that I differentiate between them. So plus thread dot the current thread. I would like to know what is the current thread that I am dealing with, and I will close the parenthesis that I did in here. And after we specify the current thread in here, I'm going to read the input line. I think I need to close this. Yeah, plus the input line, and that's it. Yeah. Finally, out.print again. Am I making a mistake in here? I think so. I have open parenthesis, I have closed it. I think this should be fine. So I guess it's maybe because I did not close this parenthesis in here, and yeah, this is okay. I just need to add the catch clause because I have try and I need to add the catch. Okay, we will fill it in a few minutes. Okay, and in here also I'm going to print the input line, the one that we have created, and almost this is it. Yeah. When we finish the while before the catch, still I am inside the try. I would like to print the following as well. Client, again, I would like to print the thread. Yeah, thread dot the current thread. Okay, and this is going to work after the connection closes. So I'm going to close the connection. After the connection closes, we are going to tell the user that the connection to this thread has terminated when the connection is done. Okay, and here in the catch, I just don't need this. I can just leave it empty as it is. Let me just, yeah, okay, the catch, it is already in here. So let me just comment this out, and this is my catch. Again, it is going to be in here, and this seems to be okay. This seems to be okay. All right, this belongs to the try. Let me just organize it in a better way. And no, this belongs to this, to the catch. And I'm going to close the connection like this. Okay, now this is much better. Now I think this is fine. Yeah. We are catching the IO exception. Everything seems to be okay, and this is redundant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, I think my code now is better organized. Okay, I guess this is fine. All right. And at the end, of course, we are closing our class. No, this is extra. Okay, so I think this is fine now. We have created it, and let me try to run it and see if there's any mistakes that we need to fix. So first of all, I'm going to start by running my server, and now the server is running. Let me run the client. So the client is going to run. Let me check my server, and now I can see that I have a connection, and this is what we are sending from the client. Let me stop this. I will stop the program from running. Let me clear the output. Let me just delete this sentence. I don't need it anymore. I just would like to check the connection. I don't need this, so let me just delete it. Just trying to check the connection to make things clear. Okay, so let me run this server, the threaded server, and let me run the client. So the first run is sending me an output from the thread number 0. Thread number 0 is connected to the server. Let me run the client again, just trying to make sure that there is a different connection. So yes, now this is connection 0, thread 0, and this is thread 1. Let me run another client and run. We are simulating. احنا الحين جالسين نعمل محاكاة لو كان عندي أكثر من client, and you can see that we are running more than one thread. Different threads are being connected to the same server. Let me run another thread, and here it is, so that you can see that currently I am having multiple threads running on my server. So now we have converted our thread into multiple multi-threaded server, and basically we are just using the same methods and classes. I have just made it more threaded, and we have implemented this interface, the runnable. I hope that things are clear for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I wish you all the best.